All right, I think I'm live. Mark, did you get it? Yeah. I think I'm live. All right, here we go. What is up, everyone? And thank you for checking out Don't Say the F Word. We are a pro wrestling combat sports podcast. We do not use the F word when we talk about professional wrestling. Shouldn't let your friends use it either. Uh, this episode's a little different. The big guy, Jeremy, Mayhem, we met with some magician friends, and we're going to have some magicians on the show. They are not just your everyday, ordinary magicians, though. They are magicians on a mission. They have purpose. They go out. They do magic shows for our troops, and they look to bring joy into everyone's life. And with that, this episode is, as always, brought to you by Prince Nana Coffee. Yep. God, that's good stuff. Our promo code, don't say the F word, at princenanacoffee.com will save you 10% on some delicious coffee that is delivered right to your door. We are also brought to you today by briansbargains.biz. That's right. We're throwing it back to Brian's Bargains. Yeah, that's the big guy. Jeremy's a home for all of his playing cards. You know, in this studio, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like 200 decks of playing cards all over the place. He's always fidgeting around with them. So even if you're not a magician and you just can't sit still, Brian's Bargains might be the spot for you. Might be able to find yourself your next new obsession in collecting playing cards, learning sleight of hand. Maybe you can be one of those people who throws playing cards really good. I've seen that guy on TV before. That's how I almost lost an ear. Mark, you don't have I got ears. Well, I had ears. They got taken off with a playing card. That didn't happen. You're making up stories to people. This is like that whole beer can thing again. That could have happened if you would have supported me. There could have been a check involved. On here. Brian's Bargains live in the chat on Instagram. We appreciate it. All right. How's it going?
Oh, man. Well, that figures.
There we go.
There we go.
You're nice and squared up. How you doing today? My name's Mark the Monster.
Hey, Mark the Monster. How you doing?
I am fantastic.
Awesome. As it should be.
We
Let me see if I
are working on getting your friend Chris in here.
Yeah. He was just here.
Let's see if maybe he can send a request to join us live, and then he'll be here with us, and then we'll be one big happy podcasting family. Let me ask you, do you enjoy coffee?
I do. I've got some right here.
Are you a dark roast kind of guy?
I am. Good call.
That's always the way to go. Something nice and aggressive. And even if the caffeine doesn't help, you at least feel like you've been awakened.
Absolutely.
I don't see Chris.
Huh.
He says he's here. I don't see him. Yeah. Don't know what that's about.
He might be invisible.
He could be. I mean, that'd be the magician thing to do, right?
Right, Chris, sneak in here. Just make
you guys are silly with that. You know, I have reason to believe that my savings account is actually a magician. There's nothing to see there. Everything's gone. Yeah, my savings account completely invisible.
I see a text sitting on his desktop.
I think you should be able to get in here. Mark, did you unplug Chris? Did you make it so Chris couldn't join? I don't think I did that. I don't. This whole thing's wireless. I didn't plug anything in. Well, it's not entirely wireless, Mark. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can get Chris in here.
Awesome.
There we go. We got the invite sent to him. If he accepts that invite, it should pop him right in. Yeah. Then we can get this conversation started.
Cool.
Mark, did he already talk about the coffee? Okay, so you talked about did they do the promo code?
I didn't catch that.
PrinceNanaCoffee.com. Promo code Don't Say the F Word. You save yourself 10%. Fresh coffee, fresh roasted. It's roasted and shipped the same day right to your doorstep.
Nice.
That's the freshest coffee you can get.
Yep.
It's so fresh. It's gonna cut a rap album. That's not what it's gonna do. It's not gonna do that. Mark, we're gonna put you on your seat, buddy. You're gonna hang out right there. All right. Chris says he's on desktop. That shouldn't be I don't think that would be an issue. I would think he'd be able to join.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see. Maybe he can get in here. But Gary, how are you today, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing today, Mark?
Mark's doing well. I'm Jeremy. People get us confused all the time.
Jeremy.
That's all right. Mark argues he's the good-looking one, and he's furrier than me. So I try to get close, but it's minimal up here, even though I desperately need a haircut.
Right.
I don't got that glorious head of hair that Chris has.
Yeah, me neither.
Chris, how are you today, sir?
I'm fine. I've got you on my my phone right now because I'm not able to do it on my stuff. So you get to see all the lovely whatever, and it looks like there's a lag. So
hopefully it will catch up and we'll be good to go. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you guys being here. People may ask, why is the pro wrestling combat sports guy talking to magicians? Well, a couple reasons.
good question.
Reason number one is I like magic. That's reason number one. It's a personal thing that I enjoy. I try my hand at sleight of hand. If I said it was less than good, I would be giving myself way too much credit. But I can occasionally fool my dog, and hey, I enjoy that.
Right.
The other thing is, the name of the podcast is Don't Say the F Word. The F word that we don't say when we talk about professional wrestling is fake. And I think that F word applies to a lot of other performing arts as well. One of those being magic, whether it be big stage illusions, whether it be up close and personal, whether it's real or not doesn't matter. It's what you believe in that moment. And can you stop looking for answers and just enjoy what's being presented to you? That's where I think pro wrestling and magicians kind of share a similarity in their arts. But let's kick things off with Magicians on Mission. Whichever one of you guys want to tell everyone what you guys are all about?
Well, Gary, you look like you're more presentable than I am at this point. I don't know what's going on with the video thing, but there you go. I'm gonna let you jump in.
We're a group of like-minded magicians that got together because we just get tired of hearing the words, thank you for your service. I mean, I'm a military guy. I served 20 years active, another 10 in reserves. And it's nice to hear the words, thank you for your service. But it's also a lot better to put words into action. And so that's why Magicians on Mission was formed. Chris saw a need for going beyond the words, thank you for your service. We lose too many service members every day to PTSD. The job is very demanding. It's stressful. It breeds anxiety and guilt and all kinds of bad things. There's a lot of good things about the military, but the bad things are what we're here to try to render safe. And Magicians on Mission, we have the unique opportunity to be able to deploy overseas to our troops while they're serving overseas to protect us and bring them some magic, share some smiles, make some smiles appear out of thin air. Hopefully, feel better and get through it.
That's beyond a noble cause. It really is.
That's why I got involved.
When did Magicians on Missions get started? What year did this all come together?
Chris?
So a little bit of backstory I think would be necessary here. I was invited to my first military tour in 2017, and I found myself to be a part of a group of amazing men and fantastic performers, and we got to visit Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Djibouti, Africa. And 2 days into the tour, I saw what it meant for me to be there. I saw what it meant for the rest of our team to be there. I saw the transformations and the kind of lifting of the weight of the world off the shoulders of our service members when we were able to go out and perform. And just 2 days into the tour, I looked at our tour manager. His name was Bob. I said, "Why aren't we here all the time?" And a couple of years later, I finally had my ducks in a row, and now that's the goal, is to get out to support and entertain our service members more. There are a number of different organizations that are tasked with quality of life, and it's like all of the organizations are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have, but we still need more. And so I decided to just jump into the fray and say, okay, how can I bring my connections with the magic world to our service members, and what would be the best way to do it? And thus was created a nonprofit organization now called Magicians on Mission. So that's the kind of origin story.
That's a very unique origin story for a very unique nonprofit.
Correct. As far as unique is concerned, just to give you kind of an understanding of scale within this space, there are over 44,000 military-centric nonprofits in the United States alone. Yeah.
Wow.
And within that space, your buddy seems to be frozen in awe.
He looks like that often. He always has a look of shock and joy at the same time, and it's accentuated by the fact that he doesn't blink. But that's because he drinks so much coffee.
Fair enough. So, yeah, that's, like I said, we've got 44,000 military-centric nonprofits in the U.S. alone, and what makes us unique is we are actually now one of 3 privately run nonprofits that have access to our active duty military. We have the ability to actually go to where they are and perform for them live, to look them in the eyes and deliver a gift box of items that not only are they asking for, but they are filled with products that from companies that want to be able to show their support for the military. Bicycle playing cards being one of them.
Happened to have a deck of bicycle playing cards. One of my mini Slurpee decks that I have around here. Man, Bicycle does great work. Again, I'm in Ohio. They used to be in Cincinnati. Recently learned that they have a bicycle playing card vending machine at Cincinnati Airport. So my family's next trip to Kings Island, I want to put too much money into that vending machine.
Well, just so you know, if you wanted to purchase some more, Bicycle is now offering a bundle on their website where you can get one of their new tactical decks in either blue or black. It also comes with an American flag deck and their flagship brand Bicycle rider back playing cards. So it's a 3-deck bundle, and it's available on their website, or you can go to Magicians on Mission /bicycle playing cards, and that'll direct you towards that bundle as well.
You guys are a very unique nonprofit, and your partnership with Bicycle playing cards is also something that's very unique. Bicycle doesn't work with just anybody. As
They do not.
I'm sure any magician watching right now can tell you they've tried to work with Bicycle, and it doesn't really pan out like they may want it to.
Fair enough. Yeah. The reason why that relationship really started was because, and Gary can attest to this. Gary, do you want to chat about the bicycle's history with military?
I don't know all the specifics, but Bicycle has been with the military for a long, long, long time, providing, for instance, cards with maps on the cards so that they can find their way out of places. They made cards called spotting cards that would have silhouettes of different aircraft, ships, um, different things so that the lookouts can spot and realize whether that's friend or foe. I wish I could remember the exact date that Bicycle first started doing stuff with the military. Craig's all over that, but they've been supporting the military for quite a while.
Correct. They've been involved in some very special things as far back as World War I. And when we approached them this past November, they have been actively looking for a way to become more active within the military community, and because their products are available in the post exchange and the base exchanges for purchase, but they were looking for a way to actively participate within the military experience.
And according to Wikipedia, the partnership began toward the end of World War One.
Yeah.
So if we can put our faith in Wikipedia, we have
That's
just toward the end of World War One.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about those gift boxes.
Mhm.
What does a gift box for a active service member from Magicians on Mission look like? What kind of things are you guys able to help supply? What companies help you put those together?
So currently, we have a lot of branded items that we provide. So we have things like our morale patch. That's a
Nice.
Velcro patch that they can add to any of their non-official stuff, like their backpacks. We have our fancy lapel pins, like Gary's wearing, and we do have some stickers. We're also providing things like handwritten thank you notes from our civilians. So when somebody goes to our website and they donate, they get an opportunity to write a note of encouragement, which we then print and put into one of the gift boxes to end up in the hands of random service member. And then
that's got to be really great for them to see.
it is. And we are also in the process right now of building in to our multimedia presentation when we do our evening programs, a collection of videos of civilians looking straight into the camera and saying, I really appreciate your help, your service, stay safe out there. We at the Smith family are, we're at home and we're rooting for you. You're not alone. Other types of encouragement. We've got a collection of those that while we're on tour, we show them when we have the ability to do multimedia. So, and then for the ones that do something special, go above and beyond with us, whether it be a commander or someone who joins us on stage during a performance, we have our very special. Let me go back. There we go. Sorry. We have our very special challenge coins that also says, you are appreciated. Thank you, from a grateful American. And so these are things that we can, the idea behind the gift box is that it's a tangible reminder of a positive experience in an environment where that doesn't happen often. So there you go.
I like that. A tangible reminder of a positive experience. I feel like that's something that can work its way into a lot of people's everyday life. How can you help someone remember that they had a positive experience, whether you're interacting with your business, your performance, or just you as a person. That's really awesome.
Correct.
So, I think it's great that you guys are able to find these shows for our troops. But what does a tour look like for you guys? How many magicians? How many shows? How many bases are you hitting?
Sure. Gary, you want to do this or you want me to?
No, go ahead.
All right. So a basic tour or average tour looks like it's approximately 16 days. And we do anywhere between 10 and 12 evening performances. So those are 90-minute interactive stage or small stage. It's not grand illusion, but we can perform for anywhere between 5 people and 400 people in any one given time. We do what's called, we pack small, we play big. So we're not traveling around with the big grand illusion stuff and not being able to perform everywhere, which is one of the things that makes us a unique form of entertainment, is that during the days, we also do what we call unit visits, where we go and visit like the canine unit or the armory or the firehouse or the infirmary. And generally we get a demonstration of the equipment that they use. They tell us a little bit about their job. And then we stay afterwards and we do kind of a round robin of close-up magic. So each performer gets an opportunity to go around and perform for the group. And sometimes that's the only time that the members of that unit get a chance to see the magic, is because they're on duty when we're doing the big evening show. So this gives us an opportunity to really get up close and personal with our service members. So then we do the evening shows, and then after each show, whether it be close up or not, we do a meet and greet. And the meet and greet is an opportunity for us as performers to look our service members in the eyes, say thank you to their face, shake their hands. I actually give hugs away, and I don't have my hug sign near me right now, but I give free hugs away. And it's
You give them away for free, and Gary charges $1?
Exactly. I mean, he's one of them, so he can charge them. I can't. So, and yeah, the meet and greet, that's when we give them the gift box. It gives us an opportunity. Plus, so I'll tell you a quick story. In 22, our group was in Jordan, and we had done a forward operating battalion, or an FOB, and it was probably 1 o'clock at night by the time we got back to our home location for that 8 days. And the guards knew we were coming, and they were like, "You're cleared to go, but we're not letting you go until you show us a magic trick." And so we had rolled open the van door, and Joe M. Turner happened chance to be sitting in that spot, and he jumped out, did some tricks for the guys at the guard shack, and made some smiles. And then we climbed back into the van and went to our bunk and slept for the night. Again, that's one of the things that helps to make us unique as far as a form of entertainment, is that we can do it anywhere at any time. So if we're in the dining facility and one of our members eats really quickly, and then he just gets up and performs. So we're performing for people while they're eating. And again, sometimes these small little unit visits or random performances is really the only time they're going to see us, just because of their schedule. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That ability to perform with a smaller audience, an up close and personal, intimate setting, kind of comes from skilled magicians always being prepared, much like our troops.
Correct.
Always prepared. Worst case scenario, you guys are prepared when somebody needs a smile. Someone needs a moment to believe what they can't believe. A skilled magician has something ready to go and can kind of change the trajectory of someone's day by brightening up a moment. And it's one of the things I love about magic. It's one of the things I love about magicians. It's just that always prepared to brighten someone's day. And it's very, very much something I respect.
Awesome.
We talked a little bit about bicycle playing cards. And this is just a little nerdy question for me.
Okay.
So, show the blues, show the reds. What's your preference? Riderback, blue or red?
Honestly, I don't have a personal preference. And I
Really?
think that comes from, so my professional magic career started in bars and restaurants. I was a magic demonstrator as a teenager. Once I kind of struck out on my own, I decided to make the leap and do magic for a living. My first bar gig was in a bar in downtown Kansas City called the Quaff Bar and Grill. I was with them for about 3 years. I worked 4 hours on Friday and 4 hours on Saturday, so it was 10 to 2 in the morning. And I didn't have
What
enough
a crazy
money.
shift for a magician.
Right.
10 to 2 in the morning?
10 to 2 in the morning. It was great. I cut my teeth on learning how to perform for drunks. It was brilliant, and at the time, I didn't really have enough money per se to be discerning, buy a brick of cards and only use half of them. I mean, I had to use every deck that was available to me. So I've never really gotten into the psychology of blue versus red. For me, a deck of cards is a deck of cards. It's what we do with it. It's the smiles that we create with it. That's what's important to me. And of course, having the quality cards. I mean, long before our relationship with Bicycle, I've been using Bicycle cards mainly because I'm concerned about my audience's perception of the props that I'm using.
Yep.
So I want to use things that are understandable without having to think about it. And Bicycle is one of the most recognizable brands of cards on the planet. And that's why I need to use them. Plus, they're a quality card. So, yeah.
And most magicians, you can't afford to have anything go wrong. And when you use any other brand, you're taking a risk. But Bicycle, they have such a high standard, you just know that the cards are not going to fail you. You might fail yourself, but it won't be.
You won't be able to blame it on a Bicycle playing card whenever it doesn't go right.
Yeah, personally, I like the red cards. I practice with the blues. I totally destroy the blues, and I keep the reds. But that's because a lot of times I'll have people sign the card not only on the face, where most people have them signed, but I also will very commonly have them signed on the back of the card. And the black is good contrast on the red backs. So that's why I like using the reds.
So it's
I'll use
the style and elegance of the Bicycle red for you.
Yeah.
I get it. I definitely get it.
You say you're a card enthusiast. Do you have a preference?
Yeah.
Preference? I'm partial to Bicycle reds. No real reason behind it. I just like things that are red and orange colors. It's the logo. It's
Gotcha.
I mean, I got Theory 11 Monarchs sitting on my desk here in the studio. Redback Monarchs. I like red. I don't know why. It's kind of been a color choice for me. It's if I'm not wearing all black, I'm wearing mostly black and a little bit of red. So, my best friend's orange. It works out well.
Awesome.
Chris, you were on Penn and Teller's Fool Us.
I was.
And you got the trophy.
I do. Here, let me show you.
Oh, you have it with you. You
see
this, Mark?
It's a little dusty right now, but
look at that.
Yeah.
So, anyone who hasn't seen your performance on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, it involved a cookie.
Correct.
And it was a great trick. I really enjoyed that performance. Now,
well, thank you. I'm glad you had fun with it.
During that performance, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But my question for you is, you offered that cookie to someone, and I want to know, when you've performed that, has anyone ever accepted and eaten that cookie?
Okay, so
Because if you did that for me for shock value, I'm eating the damn cookie.
yeah, um, okay, so I have been doing variations of that routine um, since '98, and um, it changed to cookies and milk in 2005 because I was hired to perform for children, and I didn't really perform for children at the time. So I was going through my entire repertoire of stuff, and it was originally Doc Easton's spit take routine that I was doing, that used alcohol. And unlike Doc Easton, my memory is spotty at best, whereas Doc is a steel trap, right? So I actually had to come up with a kicker ending when I was doing this in the bar just to make sure that I actually won. And so when I switched from alcohol, shot glasses and cherries and matches and all that to cookies and milk, I actually had to completely rework the method on how that was accomplished, and have been doing it for years. No one ever, like, when I gesture to somebody, most people are like, ew, get it away, and I don't want to touch it, it's been in your mouth. So I did that with, I believe I tried to give it to Allison, and she said no, and I put it down, if I remember the sequence correctly. I normally only do the routine with one person. The producers asked me to get two people up. So, do what they want you to do, right? So I set the cookie down, and I thought the teller was going to be excited about getting the nail that was in my face. When he asked for the cookie, sure, go ahead, check it out. Did not expect that he was going to eat it. That had never happened before. So
he was the first.
Yes, he was the first. And when I came home from filming, I had a private event later that week. It's a part of my set. And the guy that I got up to do it, for some reason, accepted the cookie and ate it. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? Is this going to become a thing now? Like, I really don't want people to eat it, right? Like, just gross. But that's only happened to me twice. So once with Teller and the next private show I had. And then that's it.
That's funny that he was the first, and then the next show someone did. I have to assume for Teller, it was initially to figure out, was the cookie the gimmick?
I
would think, right?
So I have not had a chance to really kind of pick it apart with Teller, because Fool Us films around 62 to 65 acts inside 2 weeks for the entire. Yes, it is clockwork. They're moving people in, moving people out. So as much as I was expecting that I might be able to spend some time with both Penn or Teller, that wasn't the case. They didn't have the time to do photo shoots or meet and greets or anything like that. But I did happen chance to find myself around them the next day, and Teller kind of leaned over and he goes, "You did it like this, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, your misdirection was spot on." And I was like, "Thank you." That was like the best compliment I could have gotten. Again, never expected him to actually eat it. There's that time between when the routine is over and when they talk with the performer on stage, and while the boys are discussing on television, that's only like anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute. In real life, for me, that was the better part of 15 minutes, or
oh wow,
and 10 to 15 minutes, something like that. And when there was a lot of people like looking at Teller because he was getting ready to put it in his mouth, all of the attention went to him, and he put it in his mouth. And it was like, okay. And then I reached back on the table and I picked up the milk that I just spit out, and I gestured toward them, but they weren't looking at me. They were looking at each other. So they didn't see me offer that. So I ended up just putting it back on the table. But yeah, like all of the attention shifted over to them at that point. And I was fine with it because I was actually quite nervous. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I did not expect to fool them at all. And I actually had 2 technical fails in the live performance that nearly ate my lunch. I actually had the thought of I should yell cut and see if they'll start over. And I'll share with you the conversation I had with myself in my head in an instant. I should yell cut. No, you're a nobody. They don't know you. They're not going to stop the show for you. This is a live performance like any other performance. Keep going. And that all happened in the flash of a millisecond, right? So I kept going. And it was like, all I wanted to do was finish the routine. And so I got out of my head and I just did it like I normally do it. And we had a good time. And the fact that I fooled them surprised the snot out of me. I wasn't expecting that at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was a great performance. And you talk about those technical fails. And again, that's one of those things about magic that I love is that whenever you're watching a live performance, however it may be that you're viewing it, see tons of live performances happen, Instagram, TikTok. You have a lot of social media magicians today, which I think is really cool. A lot of people break things down and show you some stuff, and sometimes there will be a flash there in the sleight of hand, and those mistakes can happen. But it's how you can recover from that as a magician. Much like professional wrestling, it's live. Mistakes happen. But to be able to have something like that happen live on stage in front of Penn and Teller, who, I mean, I don't even know that it's arguably some of the greatest magicians who've ever lived and have certainly done a lot for magic as an art form. And to feel like there was a mistake that happened, regroup yourself, and continue through the performance to fool them is a tip of the hat. Really just cool thing to do. I didn't catch anything. So whenever I seen you perform, I've watched the routine a few times. There's nothing that I catch in what they've shown. So editing can happen, but there's nothing that I caught where I'm like, I don't know how you did it, and I don't want to know.
Good. Because I can tell you.
Yeah. I'm not, and sometimes there's been a few things I've seen in research. I wonder if I could perform it, so I'm going to try and research and learn, and I'm going to buy the book. I'm going to pay for it. But then there's things where it's like, I'd rather never know.
Right.
You did answer a question I had of if they ask you after, how'd you do it? Because I love their questioning on the show. They ask in a way that magicians would know that they know.
Right.
And I think that's really great. And I've always wondered, like, if they get fooled, do they circle back and go, okay, now how'd you do it?
They don't, as far as I know, they don't do it with everybody, because I'm sure that there are things, just like you were saying, that they enjoy being fooled, and it's very rare for a magician, especially one that's studied the arts as much as they have, for someone to actually fool them. So they're looking at both the technical side, the entertainment side, the psychology, all of that kind of stuff. But had I not just happened chance to be near them when I was the day after, when you are part of the filming, there is a consultant. His name is Michael Close. And at the time, Johnny Thompson was still alive. And so it was Johnny Thompson and Michael Close were the consultants. And I filmed on a Friday. I arrived on a Tuesday. We did off-site rehearsal, which was where I went in front of one of the producers, Johnny Thompson and Michael Close, and we walked through the routine. So I just did the routine. It was like, whatever. It's in that room that the secret is exposed, so that Johnny and Michael can say they're the judges that are off stage if there's ever a question as to whether or not Penn and Teller were fooled, right? When we went into dress rehearsal on the day of, it was just before the filming, we did a run through and dress rehearsal, and there were people that were stand-ins for Allison, for Penn, for Teller. They're like, I'm going to play the role of Teller here. So we walked through the whole thing.
Oh, how do you get that job?
Right. And so they don't know who's coming out on stage until they see the B-roll with everybody else. Right.
Wow.
So they don't know who's coming out, and they don't know what they're going to do. They want to be surprised just like everybody else. So the question of whether or not, any of this stuff is legit, I can only speak from my experience. Michael Close and Johnny Thompson are very, very skilled at what they do. They didn't even have to ask me what I did because they knew. They didn't even ask. They're like, okay, we understand, move on to the next step of whatever it is that's got to be done. Right. So, but yeah, that was a fascinating thing. But the whole crew, everybody, from producers to lighting to sound to directors for B-roll, everybody there was all going for the same goal, and that was to make whoever was on stage look their best at that time. They treated people with kindness. They treated them with respect, whether they knew how your thing worked or not. And it's my understanding, this didn't happen to me, but it's my understanding that there were some performers that, in order to make them look better on television, they were effectively given notes. Here's what we'd like you to do. Turn this way instead of that way, or look over here instead of over there, to make it look great for television. And that's one of the things I totally respect that crew for, is they've highlighted their performers in the best way they know how.
That's really cool that they would take the time to, it's got to be a very different thing, performing in front of a live audience, performing in front of small, intimate groups, to being part of a TV production. And for them to take the time, hey, it's going to be a better angle if you look here at this cam. It's going to be more engaging for an audience at home, because performing to an audience at home versus performing to people in front of you. Mark the Monster has been involved in some conversations that have been very up close and personal with people who are face to face with me.
Okay.
And that's a little bit of a different experience than chatting it up across, the country via a podcast. And, things are a little different. And it's great that they would give people those cues, because not every magician has performed in front of TV cameras before with a production level that is Penn and Teller's Fool Us.
Right. Yeah, I did hear a story about one guy who, their prop master, completely rebuilt his custom prop for him to make it look better for television. And they did it
Wow.
So it's the whole, from what I understand, now I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and talk with Penn or Teller about this, but based on my research and the interviews and stories that I've seen and heard, they were looking for a way to showcase the best magicians on the planet. And they were met with resistance in certain areas, because it was like, well, it's just another magic show, until somebody, and I don't know who it was, but they came up with making it into a contest. And that's when they started getting some traction, right? But their goal was to showcase good magic. And I think they've done a really great job in doing so.
I absolutely agree. I don't remember seeing advertisements for the show. I truly don't remember how I came about my knowledge that Penn and Teller's Fool Us was a show.
Right.
But I love watching it, and I love watching just clips that they have on YouTube to just, a single magician, and just showing just that one performance. And it's isolated, and it's done so well, and it's really showcases that individual talent. And it's just a great way to go down a rabbit hole of learning about a magician, and then finding their YouTube, finding their social media.
Exactly.
Hey, this is what their routine looks like whenever they perform, and they come to the area. You can go see them, or just subscribe, check them out all the time, see what kind of things they add. And it's a cool platform, very cool platform.
And that's one of the things that we do with like Magicians on Mission, is as we are growing, we are showcasing our performers in the best ways that we can and that we know how. And we are trying to encourage people to connect with each one of our performers, whether it be social media or even if it's just for the few minutes that we're there at the bar in the middle of Jordan, in the middle of nowhere, and we're able to sit down and chat with somebody and get real for a little bit. It's fantastic. And, you know, Gary, honestly, you have a different perspective. I have the performer side, civilian side, but you have a different perspective when it comes to this because you've served. You served for years and you've now retired. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna take over and I'm gonna ask you this question. I want you to share what it means to you as a service member to be entertained by a group of magicians or whatever. What is that you saw when you were serving?
Yeah.
I just totally put you on the spot.
Yeah, you like to do that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Oh, I'm tired of listening to my own voice. It's your turn.
Too. All right. Well, yeah, I served in the military ever since. I swore in right on my 18th birthday. I was only going to do 3 years and get out, but they kept dangling the gold carrot out in front of me, and I kept signing that dotted line. But they let me do some cool stuff. You know, I got to jump out of planes and blow things up and swim with dolphins and sea lions and protect presidents and just all kinds of cool stuff. And they gave me a paycheck for it. So who wouldn't keep doing it, right?
Right.
Before I got in the Navy, I was doing some magic. And in fact, I was in theater. And I was good enough that I earned myself an offer for a full scholarship after graduating high school, but I joined the Navy instead. I was doing some magic and some acting prior to joining the Navy. When I got in the Navy, I continued with it, but not nearly as much. I really had to put it on the back burner and focus, keeping my fingers and toes intact. But what happened with me was my very first deployment was on a ship, and we went all the way over to the other side of the world to a little tiny atoll called Diego Garcia. It was during the Iran hostage crisis. And while we were there in this hot, desolate place, just sweating bullets and it was miserable stuff. Chris Christopherson, the actor / singer, and his band showed up with USO. And they came I was on a ship at the time. They came on our ship and they entertained us. And all of us were just floored that those guys would stop what they're doing, stop getting paid big bucks, get on a plane and go all the way out to Diego Garcia just to entertain us. And right there, and I wasn't the only one that felt this way, but right there, I thought, you know what? Anything that man puts out, I'm buying. I'm going to support anything that guy and his group does. And I have to this day. In Desert Storm, Robin Williams came out to give us support. Same thing. I thought, man, this guy could be sitting home, raking in the bucks, laughing his way to the bank. But he chose to be courageous because it's, you know, we're in a combat zone in Desert Storm. And he came out to us and just to put smiles on our face. That always stuck with me in the military, that there are a few civilians that have that heart to serve. And even though they're not in the military, they want to serve. They want to let us know that we're appreciated. So when I got out of the military after 20 years, I was doing some contract work, private military contracting over in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I beat my body up the rest of the way. And I had to myself out of doing tactics. So I returned to my first love, which is performing. I got back in. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. I got back into the International Brotherhood of Magicians. I started getting back in the groove again, playing with cards and all that stuff. The next thing you know, I find out about Magicians on Mission, and I see Chris Rose on TV, and I look into it, and so I send him a message, and I said, hey, tell me more about Magicians on Mission. He tells me, and I said, man, if you're ever out in the Phoenix area, I would love to sit down with you. It'd be great to pick your brain. And he's like, I live here. I'm like, let's meet up. So we did, and he told me about what they were doing, and I you know, there's no way I could say no. I want to be involved. I mean, he didn't invite me. I had to invite myself.
Forced your way in.
Please. But
You went through a rigorous interview process.
yeah, I mean, that's my family. You know, those are my brothers and sisters out there. I've already lost several of my brothers and one sister to PTSD. I don't want to lose anymore. If me and the boys, me and the crew, can go out there and share some smiles and prevent somebody from getting into the doldrums, I'm all for it. Where do I sign up? What do you want me to do? Because I don't want to lose another one of my brothers or sisters. It's just not acceptable.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why I'm here. I'm here to help make smiles appear. I do with a little thing called sleight of hand. It's my last name. Right.
That's so
quality dad jokes, sir. Quality.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
you know,
Carry on. I'll be
with that, Gary brings up a really fantastic point. And I'll tell you another quick story of a gentleman that we met in Jordan. His name is David Du Bois. He was tasked with our security while we were there. And we were in that section of Jordan for about 8 days. And we were staying in one location. That's where we had our bunks. And then every day they would take us out to a different forward operating battalion. And we'd go and perform. And then they would bring us home and we'd stay. At the main location, they had what they called their cafe. It was a 2-story thing. This was August, September. So it was 115, 120 degrees during the day and about 100 degrees at night. So for a Phoenician, it was like, oh, this is nice. We get to sit outside. But my other guys were a little, melty, I guess. But one evening after having traveled with us for several days, so David he was an MP, and we saw him with his vest on, and the guy's like 29, I think, and built like a brick house. I felt like the Pillsbury Doughboy, honestly, compared to the guy, and like he would sit with his arms like this while we're sitting on the patio together, and we're smoking cigars and just actually getting real. And at a certain point, like, he drops his hands and he looks me dead in the eye and he goes, tell me more about Magicians on Mission as an organization. And so I did. And he goes, before you guys showed up, I was going through some stuff, and after having spent a few days with you, being able to see the show, be able to meet you guys and laugh with you guys, I feel like you've hit the reset button for me and I can keep going. And then he reached down on his wrist, and I just took this off. He handed me a memorial band. He goes, I really wish that you guys had been here a couple of years ago. My buddy could have used you. And that's an extreme, right? Like, our service members are out there, they're away from their home, their family, their country. They're in places where, they've been given a crash course on the local economy and the language and the culture, but they're isolated. And sometimes that isolation leads towards it leads towards a bad path, right? They get homesick, they get anger issues, anxiety issues, and it can go all the way towards suicide. And if we can get out there and just snap somebody out of that and give them a smile and give them a laugh, give them a reason to keep going, then all of the blood, sweat, and tears that we've been putting in over the years, it's all worth it. And even if it's just to help somebody feel like they're not homesick for a little while. We met, her name is Chauncey. We met her in, I believe it was Bahrain. And after the show, I just asked, like, what did you think? And she goes, this has meant so much to me because I'm at the halfway point of my deployment and I'm missing home, and the last few days have been kind of rough. She said, my cheeks hurt from smiling and laughing. This has been amazing. So it's all of what we do is really to get that kind of reaction, that kind of a connection with somebody. And we're still friends with David Dubois and several other people that we've met on tour. We're friends with him on Facebook. There's a few that we keep really close contact with. There are others that, they went and they saw a really cool magic show and then they're moving on with their life. They're doing other things. But there are some that they just want that connection. Dubois, when he said that to us, he was only 3 months in to a 9.5-month deployment. And he was already needing somebody to hit the reset button for him. Yeah. So it's amazing how quickly it happens. But yeah, anyway, what else? Bring us up.
It's one of those things that's really great. And you talked about it in your package for Fool Us. It seems to be something very near and dear to both of you whenever it comes to performing. It's bringing that smile onto someone's face, but not just that smile that we have as adults. As adults, I think we oftentimes find ourselves pretending to be excited, pretending to find joy in the things that we've been taught should bring us joy. And it's a lot of that showing excitement and happiness for those around us, and oftentimes may not truly be genuine. But as I've seen from your performances and some of the close-up magic that I've seen in some of the highlights and things, you see that true joy on people's face when they can't believe they've seen what they've just seen.
Right.
And whenever you're performing for some of the toughest men and women on the planet, I think there's got to be some tough nuts to crack. Mark does the intro for the show. Mark has been part of interviews with some of the baddest combat sports athletes in the world. He's interviewed Austin Trout, world-class boxer, a BKFC, bare knuckle fighting championship champion. And you see people find this joy and this smile on their face when they're talking to an orange monster, or when they're seeing a magic trick performed directly in front of their face, and they're seeing something happen that they know can't be happening. What are those performances like for our services men and women? Some of the most hardened, toughest people anyone could ever meet. Do you find that you have to find those tricks that can connect a little bit more to helping them believe what they can't believe? Or do you hit more with some comedic things, or is it just, this is impossible and it just happened?
I can answer
There
that.
you go. And to answer that, I'm going to find something. I'll be back.
Okay.
He disappeared.
See? Yeah. I was in Navy Special Operations, and we've got some of the same types of folks that you're talking about. And it really doesn't matter if they're hard as nails or not. Seeing somebody in civilian clothes, seeing a non-military person show up in your area of operations in a combat zone is the best breath of fresh air you could possibly imagine. I mean, you see somebody, whoa, who is that? Because, I mean, they're from the world. You're out there. I mean, like Afghanistan, there's places that it's just like you went back in time and you're in medieval times suddenly. It's just nuts. So you see a civilian show up and it's like, hey, who's the civilian? Oh, they're magicians. They're here to entertain us. Or it's USO. It's like, really? Awesome. Because it's an immediate break. And we don't care about how it's done. We just want to be entertained. I mean, our brains have to be locked in to our job, or we don't get to go home, unless it's inside of a bag. So
Yeah.
have somebody come out and say, hey, you don't have to worry about anything right now. Just sit back, relax, and let me entertain you. Wow. And then those guys are telling us, the service member, thank you for your service. And here, let me show you how much I appreciate your service. And they, here, pick a card or whatever it is, they're entertaining us. Man, it's like, no, don't thank me. Thank you for having the guts to come all the way out here to me and pull me out of my mess. I mean, that's the service member's perspective. I guarantee that I can speak for probably 99% of my brothers and sisters with that. Because, I mean, it's just this priceless gift that's being given to you to allow you to relax. Even if it's just for a moment, it helps to break you out of that mindset, because it's a dark place to have to be in, and you have to be there just constantly. So to be pulled out of, hey, you have permission to smile. In fact, you have permission. That's awesome. It's the best.
Yeah. I mean, the way you explain it, I can only imagine how that must feel for them. It's got to be such a breath of fresh air. And you mentioned, that seeing someone who's from the world, and you hear things about Afghanistan, and a lot of that area hasn't changed much since Alexander the Great. And so to feel that type of isolation where you're almost stuck in a capsule, and it's almost as if you traveled back in time, and to have someone get there, and I don't want to use the phrase breach the walls, but breach the walls that a lot of our servicemen and women have built up, because they have to be so isolated. They have to be so protected. Their guard has to be up. Yeah. We are working on getting Chris back with us. He truly disappeared. While we're waiting for Chris to get back in, our friends over at briansbargain.biz, he's dropped a comment here live on Instagram. You guys are amazing. He's going to reach out to see if there's any way that he can support and help you guys out. He has a lot of resources, a lot of cool things available to magicians and anyone into collecting playing cards, poker players, whatever it may be. So hopefully he can connect with you guys. So what is a good way for our listeners, our fans, to connect with you guys so they can donate, whatever it is they can do to show some support to Magicians on Mission?
We really appreciate it. We can't do it on our own. We are a nonprofit. I don't get paid. Nobody gets paid. We can't get overseas without everyone's help. It's just, we can't do it. We don't want to charge the military anything, not even one red penny. So with your donations, with your listeners' help, we can continue this mission. So if you'd like to help us, we really appreciate it. Just go on over to magiciansonmission.org, and you can read all about us. There's several pages in there. You can have a look and find out more about what it is that we do. There's several videos. There's all kinds of information on the website. And of course, there's a page that you can make a donation if in fact that's what you want to do. And we hope it is. We really want to get back overseas and continue to do this mission. So thank you.
Yeah, and as all my listeners know, anytime we do a fundraiser, no one's ever required to do anything. We're not a Patreon having podcast. That's our hope is to bring some joy, bring some happiness, and do some good. So if instead of looking to purchase any "Don't Say the F Word" T-shirts or anything, I'd much rather my listeners take a few dollars, go to Magicians on Mission, donate a few dollars, anything you can do to help them out, help them get where they need to go so they can help entertain our troops. It's greatly appreciated by me. It's appreciated by them. It's appreciated by Mark the Monster. We are trying to get Chris back in. He'll tell you how much he appreciates it. We have a spinny wheel for him.
I see the spinning wheel. Where
And,
no one knows.
you know, he does amazing things with cookies, and then he just disappears. He's a unique guy.
He's a master.
He definitely is.
Yeah.
It's great to see what you guys are doing. It's great to hear the stories and hear about the tours and the reaction from our troops. Definitely a different insight. I think throughout most of our lives, we've all seen things where USO goes and brings some troops on, brings some people to entertain, and you never really know what that impact is. You just you see it, and you don't really know how that impacted an individual.
Right.
And that individual thing, I think it's close-up magic becomes a very individual performing art. Hey, Chris is back. Welcome back, buddy.
I love technology.
I'll pull back the curtain a little bit for everybody. Prior to this, we got together and we talked before we went live, and I talked about how I transitioned from, and I won't name the company that I used to pay some money to, but I transitioned away from them because I had issues where things got lost and there were some technical issues. And I'm like, what works for everybody? Meta makes sure things work. They want you on their platform. So it's going to work if I'm using a Meta platform. And then, Chris gets lost in technology somewhere. He was in the Matrix. He's seen Neo and Morpheus, and now he's back to tell us tales of the land of yesterday.
So you guys were talking, I could hear you the whole time, and I don't know what the heck happened. But anyway, you guys were talking about how it is that somebody could support us.
Yeah.
So there are several different ways that someone could support us. Cash donations, of course, that's super easy. You can go to magiciansonmission.org. There's a little donate button up in the side. But really, what we're looking for right now is we are trying to build our national sponsorship to get connected with other companies similar to that of, bicycle playing cards or any one of a number of different national brands that we can partner with in a reciprocal relationship, right? So that it's not just a nonprofit taking from somebody. We want to be able to give in return. And we've found that a sponsorship type relationship is a really great way to do it because we can help to highlight a brand through our performances. And Gary will tell you this, I've noticed, at least within my own family, so I'm actually an Air Force brat. So although I didn't serve, I have a lot of military in my history. And I will say that I know that at least my family and the military members that I know are extremely loyal to the brands that are loyal to them. And so if we can help to make that connection between a brand, a company, even a philanthropic endeavor, however it is, to our serving military, that's what we want to be. We want to be that conduit to build that kind of a relationship instead of just a nonprofit that just takes and takes and takes. So that's our goal. You can reach us through email. All of our contact information is on the website. You can reach out to me directly, either through LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. And we'd love to have a conversation. So it's not just about, the $5 or $10 a month. It's more of who do you know, or how can we help each other? So if you can help facilitate an introduction with somebody who might be really interested in going beyond thank you for your service, then we want to help connect. And I'll offer you this for free.
Free, huh? There they are.
I give up. I wanted to bring that back in just because, we were talking about the way that our service members react to when we're there. And just that little free hug sign it surprises me every single time. But I get service members that are, you know, built like a brick house, like you were talking about with your wrestling friends. I mean, they're amazing, and yet they just want to be able to connect with somebody, and to be able to provide that kind of an opportunity to just let your guard down for a little while and be real again. That's what we're there for.
That's awesome. And, you know, it's an incredible mission that you guys are on. I respect what you're doing from a service to those providing the service to our country. And I respect, you know, the work you're putting into your performing art. It's really great. And as I said a few times in here, and I said to you guys in our private conversation, you know, the prep work that magicians have is second to none. No one prepares for something like a magician does. It's setting things up and being ready to go. And sometimes it's at less than a moment's notice when someone finds out you're a magician. Show me a trick, and you got to be ready to go with it. So it's really incredible. I thank you guys for joining us here today on Don't Say the F Word. Anyone who's catching us live on Instagram, this episode will be up on YouTube and Spotify later once I add some things to it. And in there, you will find links in the description for everything for Magicians on Mission. I thank you to our friends over at Prince Nana Coffee. You guys can save yourself some money on coffee with the promo code Don't Say the F Word. You can save 10%. Our friends at briansbargains.biz, Brian will hopefully be reaching out to you guys. He said he wants to see what he can do to help support Magicians on Mission. So hopefully he can get some things to you guys, and maybe you guys can work something out together. I think that'd be a great partnership. He's a guy who always wants to do more. So hopefully you guys can connect. And everyone, you know, go to magiciansonmission.org. Take a look at what they've done, what they hope to do. And again, don't worry about buying anything from me. You know, if you have coffee, you don't got to buy coffee this week. Send a little money their way. Help them get out there and do another tour and support, and, you know, help put on a good show for our troops and put a smile on some faces.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for having us on. It's been an absolute pleasure to find out more about you as a person and what it is that you like. And I didn't realize that your monster was going to be joining us, and I love that.
Yeah. Mark is always here.
I've been a Muppet fan for years. Yeah.
Mark said everything that he ever needed to learn in life, he learned on the streets.
Nice.
So he, you know, Mark's always here to put a smile on faces, here to argue with me constantly. He's always here with me. He's my IT guy. Oh, look at that. You see that? He's got a friend too, huh?
That's right. This is Randall Stevens. He's actually our mascot. You can see him on our logo. But
yeah,
I've taken this little guy with me and been able to put some smiles on faces like in an airport, which is awesome. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, I thank you guys for your time this evening. I thank you for everything that you're out there doing. And I'm sure there's moments where it feels like a very thankless job. But I appreciate the effort you guys are putting in to bringing magic all over the world to our troops and bringing smiles along with you. I thank you for that. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and hopefully we can have you back on again in the future.
Sounds good. We have a
evening as well.
Domestic tour coming up in October. Maybe we can come back and share some highlights from that.
Absolutely.
Cool.
You guys have a great night, and we'll see you again soon.
You as well.
Thank you.
Mark. We'll see you later.
Bye.